well. And thanks, guys, for doing this, and congrats on what sounds like a successful launch. And I just wanted to follow up on Micah's question, and Steve, just kind of get like a quantifiable response or some kind of number on what the probability of loss of crew for this flight was, or how different that might have been from past flights. I mean, I think, you said that this was a kind of an unusual pre-flight process this time around, and so I just, figured it'd be good to get a number on if there was any kind of numerical difference on the probability of loss of crew for this flight that you guys accepted. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't have the lost crew number that we use from the design phase with me, but there would have been no change in that essentially for this flight. We wouldn't have assigned a new loss of crew risk for this flight based on our process. Again, I felt like we started looking at capsule 210 endurance late last year a little bit because we thought we might be in this situation. So we started looking at some of the non-conformances. We started looking at some of the data. I mean, the Dragon vehicles, if you just compare them, they are all virtually identical except for capsule 206. The very first spacecraft, the prop system's a little different on that one. So in terms of, the safety risk for this vehicle, it really was unchanged from any other previous flight. So we didn't assign any new loss of crew number for the flight.
Okay, so the front row here, Will has a question.
Hi, Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now. Thank you all for your time this evening. Question to Steve and to Sarah. In the write-up after the launch readiness review, it was mentioned that the leak issue that was present in B-1086 when it landed and had the subsequent fire, that was cleared to move forward with this launch, but that root cause had not been found yet at that point. Has that been resolved now? And did this flight provide any additional data that might help clear that? Thanks.
Do you want me to go for it? Or? Yeah, so we are still moving through our root cause of why the fire originated. But what we did ahead of the SphereX mission and the Crew 10 mission is we asked ourselves, of all the possible causes, could any of these have any correlation or connection to what will happen on the ascent phase of a mission, which is what matters for this mission. And in this case, the answer was no. We found that there would have to be 3 separate anomalous events all happening simultaneously in the first 2 or 3 minutes of flight in order to see anything like what we saw there post-landing. And so that got us comfortable with with it not being an elevated risk to this mission.
And SpaceX did a great job of looking at, I would say, forensics from that booster, the 1086 booster on the drone ship. They actually looked at a particular fitting that might have been a source of a fuel leak. It had a very interesting signature where it wasn't as, of course, when you have a combustion event after landing, you're going to see a lot of heat damage components. This one wasn't, so they think maybe this particular fitting might have been leaking a little bit of fuel on that particular booster. We went and analyzed our booster. We did a static fire. We didn't see any fuel leaks. We actually sniffed for fuel to see if there was any present in any of the 9 engine bays. There was not. We actually went in on a couple of the bays and looked at this area where there was a fitting, and so that's a potential root cause. And then we looked at, the thing that you would be worried about if you had a fuel leak is a LOX leak during ascent. And the vehicle that we just flew was very tight during static fire. It was tight during all the testing at McGregor. And so that gave us rationale to go fly the flight. And of course, SpaceX resumed their other missions as well, and we learned from those flights.
Okay, the third row. Sorry.
Maybe I can just add one
Yeah.
last thing to that. One of the cool things about the design of Falcon 9 is it's designed to be full engine mount, which is just another important part of all of this. If there were to be a fire to break out in one engine, for example, and we did actually see an engine out scenario, in the old days, I think it was CRS-1 or 2, to 10, 12 years ago, right? But that rocket had an engine out. It has sufficient scaffolding to isolate the fire to that single engine bay. And then the rest of the engines complete the mission as planned. And so that's, I guess, an additional layer of protection. If we were to see an event like this, we wouldn't expect it to propagate to the rest of the rocket.
Saparo with NBC News. Thanks again for doing this. This is for whoever wants to answer this one. I'm sure you're still seeing this as I am. What do you say to people that are still calling Butch and Sunny stuck or stranded, quote unquote, and calling Crew 10 a, quote, rescue mission?
You want to do that one, Steve?
I mean,